I am Vikram and I'm the co-founder and CEO of DaoLens. And there's a lot that has been cooking on our end. It is a great opportunity for us to showcase whatever has been up to. So the way this conversation is going to flow is that we'll talk briefly about why we are building what we are building, then give you some glimpses into what exactly has been our thought process, and then show you a live working version of the product. And then, of course, towards the end, there are instructions around if you want to get in touch or if you have some feedback for us, how do you move on? So, given that my screen is visible, we are just gonna jump straight into it. The reason DaoLens started was simply because we ourselves here at DaoLens are big advocates of crypto. I have been in the sector since 2015. Apurv, who happens to be my co-founder, he got in 2016, and we have been into DAOs not for the last 1 year or 2 years. We have been in and out since 2018, 2019. There's been a lot of narrative. One thing that has always stood out is like, if you go in and look at a company, how the processes have worked there is always this HR person to like give context to you. In a DAO, you are thrown mostly into a Discord, which is as messy as it gets. We have seen DAOs with 15,000 people, but maybe 10 people showing up on community calls. And the reason that happens is because there's never a meaningful engagement that was established. It's almost like you're asking someone to go onto the office floor and shake hands with 1,000 people, basically requesting them, hey, tell me, what do you do in your pod? Would you have an opportunity for me? How much do you pay? And so on. It gets very ambiguous, right? Like, it's not just us. This is a very common and a very prevalent thought, or like something that has been echoed here and there by a lot of well-known faces in the DAO ecosystem. These are great instructions, like take notes at meeting, interview core contributors, and so on. But these are very subjective, right? Like you don't know what is the exact action that you need to take. On the other hand, the tweet you see on the right bottom of the screen with Jim, the last line in particular, DAOs disproportionately benefit self-starters who create their own scope. It was exactly this particular point that we brought on before we started DaoLens. Now, a lot has happened since this and where we are today. Essentially, in terms of the product, we do three things, and I'm directly gonna jump into it. The first thing is onboarding. That's roughly 20% of our focus area. The second thing is contribution. That's roughly 70% of our focus area. And then the third thing, which was the first product that we launched with, and where we were trying to understand the ecosystem, is discovery, which continues to grow based on the help and inputs from our community. I'm going to talk specifically about what each one of these does, and we are also going to go through a demo for onboarding. Moving on, onboarding, pretty simply put, there are three things that you need to keep in mind. At a DAO, you may have your own stack of tools. What we come and say is like, hey, we'll integrate with the stack of tools, not for the sake of integration, but to bring the relevant information upfront for any newcomer who's entering your DAO. The second thing, there's a two-way problem. Like, it's not just the problem of a newcomer entering a DAO. An admin also is pretty lost. Someone walks in with the name heisenberg.eth. I don't know whether that person is a designer or a front-end developer. Maybe I have been looking for one. They came, sat right under my nose. I never engaged with them and they walk out. So there's an admin dashboard that we provide. And then the third thing, which is the most impactful one, is that this solution today in its form, which is, by the way, live with, I guess, around 74, 75 DAOs, last I checked, can be deployed in under 3 minutes, right? Like, it's self-serve. So if you have the link, you can just go fill in the inputs. We'll go through the steps one by one, but essentially diving deeper into the product. And before I even actually touch base into it, we were just trying to look at whatever was happening in terms of BANKLESS, what has been the sentiment. We identified quite a few issues which we feel we can already like tackle. And this is not really me trying to point out mistakes. It's just what is our thought process when we are looking at it, right? Like, so you see these messages like, hey, I'm getting confused using Gnosis to use Coordinate. Can I change my wallet to a hardware wallet instead? We have realized, working with the best of the DAOs, that oftentimes there is not enough time to go in and create education content, right? Like, so in the process of onboarding, what DaoLens also goes and does, and we'll talk specifically and more in depth about it in the flow. But just to clarify on these screenshots, what we do is like, we have an in-house repository of videos that have been shot by experts, where we go in and work with you to like create custom videos to explain concepts that are very personal to your DAO. But essentially, from an admin end, in the 3 minutes, you just have to check box, and that video is available explaining things to a newcomer even before they are thrown into Discord. Things like this: hey, I have passed verification, but I'm being kicked every 3 minutes. Hi guys, today is my last pass expired. Can anyone help me create a quest pass? So everything around this, or for that matter, hey, I'm getting like these messages around over allocation, I don't know what's up. There's a lot of these things that we tackle through our tools and way more. Now, I'll directly jump into the screens and show you a working demo. Two things that you need to understand is when I said that you can integrate with the custom stack of a DAO, you can essentially go and then think of it in the form of blocks. So this block that you see on the right side is a block that can be generated because we are integrating with Notion. If you are creating the community call notes in Notion or wherever you are keeping it for that matter, doesn't matter. If you're using Clarity, we could go on and integrate with that. If you're using some other tool altogether, we can integrate with that. We have some integrations in place as well. But essentially the idea is create these blocks. Now, if a tool changes, the block changes, but the idea is create the block and put it in front of a newcomer sequentially. So you have better context and you ultimately end up contributing meaningfully. Second thing is an admin dashboard. So you get a dashboard like this. We'll see a live one very soon where you have an input into who's coming, why are they coming in, where are they coming in from, and so on. Third thing, and this will really make it clear, why are we even building onboarding, right? First thing which we want to talk about is like, how does your onboarding flow compare to the best practices with respect to other DAOs? Ideally at DaoLens, and I'll be very transparent, we are not there yet in terms of giving you the best answers to all of these questions, but this is something which we are actively striving towards and working towards already internally. So how does your onboarding flow compare to the best practices with respect to the other DAOs? What I mean by that is, can I go in and tell you, hey, step 2, avoid using technical jargons. Talk about culture, because we have known that when people talk about culture on step 2, there is more follow through, there's less drop offs, and so on. So I'll just give you some more insights into it. What are we striving towards? How many of onboarded members start engaging meaningfully per cohort if they go through the process that DaoLens is going to give to you? How many of onboarders feel, or like folks, they develop a reputable on-chain profile? It's the equivalent of someone working in a company and doing a kick-ass work for 1 year and their manager coming and saying, I know there is enough proof of work that you have done it. But in a DAO, it just gets replaced by a reputable on-chain profile. So how can we track people who have come through our flow, what they have achieved? What do peers or assigned matches think of contribution? So what we also do at DaoLens is like we match you to some peers. We go in and say, hey Vikram, welcome to the server. Here is Amit and here is Mark, and the two of them are going to keep an eye out on how you progress through the community. It's not like an onboarding buddy who's interviewing you. It's way more. And basically you can depend on them to like get feedback. So all of this happens because we have a bot deployed in the server. We have of course survey forms and a lot more. Now we can maybe directly jump to the demo of how the product works. And I'm essentially going to show you by creating a flow and then walking you through the flow, right? Like, so I am here on the process of like app.daolens.com/onboarding. This is our creation flow. So you essentially come here and I'm going to log in with Discord. Now you need to be an admin, right? Like, and we can actually deploy the flow in 3 minutes. You'll just see, you need to be an admin. It will of course ask for some authorizations. This is standard authorization that a Discord asks for. One thing that you need to know here is that it says, hey, know what servers you are in. Now I go in, I authorize, it's going to take me to this self-serve flow. The reason, by the way, by the time it loads, is the reason we built the self-serve flow is because we were like overwhelmed or buried in request in terms of the number of manual deployments we could do. So we realized instead of keeping people waiting, why not like just hand over a link? So it has already some of the inputs pre-filled because I just used this link a little while back. But you see, it says like your name, your total handle. This is me, the person who's creating the flow. Now it says like DAO for which you want to create an onboarding. Here there are a bunch of DAOs, right? Like, and these DAOs I see in the dropdown because I am the admin of all of these 3 DAOs. So I'm going to go select Magnum DAO for the sake of the flow. The bot has already been added because I just did a test run before the call. But essentially you get a button here which says add bot, and it again like gives a pop-up. It's very simple. The one thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to give the bot the priority permission, like priority in terms of permission. So it needs to sit over or on top of all the permissions where the role is going to get assigned. This link is the link which we ask for because a lot of DAOs have very specific tracking criteria in terms of where the people are coming from. So you can totally add a link here, or we can just use a generic Discord link that you have for your invites. You proceed, and these are the 4 steps that you need to complete, and you're deployed, that your solution is deployed, whatever we just saw, and I'm going to show you how it all works. So here what we have done is like you have to just give an information on all of these 4 things, right? Like onboarding which members would love. We promise you a little about your DAO, right? Like I click on add details. We have already typed in the message, but basically as an admin, you just have to type or like, hey, write a welcome message. We have templatized it because we have been learning from all of these DAOs. I go click on proceed, or I can simply close it. I go in and look at, okay, select roles and responsibilities. This is the most important thing. Now you see what's going to happen here is like Discord role is marketing fish, right? This is a role which we have created. Now for marketing fish, there's a description I have done. There's a checkbox here which says, hey, I don't really want to gate it. But for DAOs that want to gate people, we want you to facilitate gating through the flow of onboarding. How would this happen? Sorry, did someone say something? Okay, I'm going to continue. So for DAOs that assign people to come in through gating, like what we have gone and said is like, hey, if you want to gate people by wallet holdings or interview them before they come in, or you want them to submit a task, and different DAOs have their own flows, you could totally go in and say we don't have any gating, and it still works. But basically you go in and say task submission, and you write a blog post on Web3 explaining the community about token delegation. I could totally remove this role, right? Like I'll show you more examples. So hey, here's dev folks, and this is a drop down, by the way, right? Like so you have dev folks, design panda, you can just select all the roles that are available in the DAO. The tool will automatically fetch these roles for you because we are connected to your Discord. And here we have selected that assign this role only to people who have gone through an interview through this calendar link. Assign this role only to people who have again submitted this different task. Assign sales pool again for task submission. Assign admin Rhino to someone who has a wallet holding. I put the contract address here. I put the name of the token here and what is the number of tokens that we are looking at. You could totally skip this if gating is not really a matter of concern and just checkbox here. But essentially, this is something which we see most of the DAOs using. Now this is where I was talking about. So I could simply toggle this flow on and off. Like if I toggle it off, this flow goes out. But basically, hey, how do we manage our compensation and task? What are the tools which we are using? I could go check it on and off. I could check off Gnosis. I could check on Gnosis. I could do whatever I wanted to. Where do we catch up in our DAOs? Where does the community work? Why is the community call really important? What are the notes of the call? What are the next steps? I could fill in whatever I wanted to. Like these are all, like you can make things bold, highlight text, edit stuff, and so on. It's all custom editing. But this is where I was highlighting a while back about how we can create your videos for specific use cases. The idea is like, okay, I want someone to know about delegated voting, right? Like, and you just have to check it on because we already have these flows, these videos recorded for you. You will most likely have my face and it's explained in like using a screen. Now I'm just gonna go in and click on proceed. And you see it's done. That's it. The flow is deployed. We'll see how the flow works now in practice. But essentially we give you some best practices around what is the best way to get people to understand what the flow is, right? Like I'm gonna copy this link. I'm gonna go to my browser and I'm gonna copy paste the link. Now it's coming. Now this is something which a newcomer is going through. As an admin, I deployed the flow. Wherever this flow is deployed. Now the question is, where can this flow be deployed? We have seen a bunch of things. I'm just jumping one place to show you what all we have seen as the most common ones. One way is like you just simply go in and put it in your Twitter bio or on your website where this is the flow that it launches with. The second link is, hey, I go freeze all the channels. Instead of saying verify yourself, I'm just going to say click on this link to go through the flow. And once you've gone through the flow, you can pretty much like you will understand what's happening as I go through it. So I'm like, it's asking me as a newcomer, as a contributor who has clicked on join your server link to click on and log in with Discord. I'm again log in with Discord. Now you will see what the newcomer will go through. So everything that we created in this editor, you remember the 4 steps? Everything is now created in the form of blocks, right? Like it says, hey, welcome to Magnum DAO. I go proceed, a brief about Magnum DAO. I'm like, okay, great. You can talk about whatever you wanted to because you just answered those questions here. It says, what should I call you? I'm going to call me Vikram Aditya. And then I go and say, okay, what's your email? I'm going to call it vikram@daolens.com. By the way, again, you could totally ask for MetaMask addresses here. You could ask for Telegram IDs here. If you're trying to create a Telegram group, you could try creating a whitelist of people you just want to do something with. So like creativity is up to you. Essentially, it's a block. You can use it in whatever way. Hey, introduce yourself. I am Vikram and I'm doing a demo with the awesome folks at BANKLESS. Awesome, we are good. There's something about me where I don't like non-caps letter in my name, so we just fixed it and I go in and okay, proceed. Now you see it says select your skills, right? Like we already created this, so I can go and select admin, community. I could just select design and unselect all of it. Point is, like, based on whatever I'm selecting, the idea is a designer should go through a certain flow. A front-end developer should go through a certain specific flow. And how do we facilitate it? Now this is again where you see we just set up the gating here on this flow, right? Like, sorry about that. We just set up the gating on this flow that, hey, you're asking someone to do task submission. For DevFox, we had interview gating. So let's look at what DevFox does, right? Like I go in and click, okay, I want to go in and like be someone who is just going to help create amazing products at this DAO, which is Magnum DAO. So it's like, okay, DevFox, welcome, learn how we work and operate. Again, you can have your separate flows depending on the role that person opted in for. I could go in and see like which tools you remember. We just checklisted a few of the tools here on the slide, which was more on the lines of like what are the tools or services which you use in our community. So all of that is automatically populated. I go click on Gnosis and you will see that it shows my face with a video of how Gnosis works. But that's pointless. We'll continue. When and how do we catch up with each other? How does the community work? Now it says, let us talk to you, right? Like, and it says schedule a meeting. This meeting link we just dumped in the editor. So this person can go in and click on schedule meeting. It's going to open up in a tab and I can pick up a link, like pick up a slot the way Calendly works, right? So it's very simple on that front. Now I could actually go back instead of going forth here and show you something else. Like for example, so that it's clear, let's pick Admin Rhino, right? Like it says Admin Rhino now, it has its own flow. And again, like you have all of your videos, you could totally customize these flows, but it says like, hey, in Admin Rhino, you require 10 Magnum tokens. I'm like, okay, great, connect to my wallet. It's going to ask me to use whichever wallet I'm going to use. I'm going to go in and say MetaMask. My MetaMask is already signed in, so it says wallet connected. I'm going to go in and click on check tokens. It says drum rolls, we're excited to have you, because I had the required number of tokens in my wallet, right? Like, and then that's something I have already set up here in my MetaMask wallet to have the right amount of tokens to show up. And as soon as I go in and click on proceed to community, it's going to take me to Discord, right? Now I'm going to take a jump back to the original pitch deck. But before that, we should just go in and look at the responses that we went through, right? Like, so who all is going through these flows? So you see, these are the people who have filled in the flows. Everyone. Now you see, I just filled in here. It says Admin Rhino and design, and it shows all the things that I filled in. I can go click on it and it shows like details of me as well. But basically from an admin view, you have all of these things. You can apply filters, you can search for members and do a whole bunch of things. You can see who walked in, why they walked in. And that's what basically is the starting point of answers to all of these questions that I was just showing you here, which are super, super, super critical. Sorry about that. These questions that I was just talking about, that, hey, how does your onboarding flow compare to the best practices with respect to the other DAOs? How many members are engaging meaningfully per cohort, and so on, right? Now we were here, we have already gone through the demo of the onboarding product, but you remember this screen where we showed that we do 3 things and 70% of our energy is actually getting deployed on contribution. What it really means is that I'll simply like not really get into the details, because in my understanding, this call is about onboarding's demo. What we are trying to do today at DaoLens is that you see the whole process of how the deployment works is that you have someone discussing on Discord. Now, 5 people agree on it. They go, okay, let's take this onto a forum post on Discourse. Great. You take it to a forum post on Discourse, then someone there is like even more signaling. You take it to the proposal on Snapshot. Awesome. Now the Snapshot proposal is done. You go to a platform like Dwork or Trello or wherever you're going for your task management. Great. Now you go into Gnosis Safe or Coordinate, whatever you're using for compensation. But you realize what just happened. I jumped between 5 tools, and the task that I created, it has lost all the context of the original forum discussion where the post was created, where the discussion happened. So what we go in and say is like, we link all the steps from the forum post to payout within the app. What does that mean? When I say within the app, we are not going to build everything. So don't worry, we are not going to go in and say, you don't use Snapshot, you use whatever we are saying. We'll integrate where it's important to. So Gnosis will be integrated with, Coordinate will be integrated with, across chains also integrations are possible. And then on top, things like Snapshot are integrated. But when it comes to forum or task management and linking the two of them, that is something which we are actively working on. The second thing is also a cross DAO feed, which is, I'll just show you a glimpse. This is in private beta. We are just like defining our top selected DAOs who are our definition partners, so that by the end of September, we can actually launch the app to everyone. But if you can just see the glimpses here, if a contributor is working across 4 to 5 DAOs, which is what the consensus is, that no one is now working just for one DAO. If you're working for 4 to 5 DAOs, you really want things like your discussions. This one forum or this one channel really gives me all the insights into whatever is concerning me. Where is the forum discussion happening? What's the forum post? This product is live, but again, it's like very restricted. We are working with some of the close partners to define how things will work. And I think that's pretty much a very quick wrap. So if you're a DAO community ninja, DaoLens is for you. Help and co-build with us. This is where we hang out. You have me on email on vikram@daolens.com, and I am of course in BANKLESS community now. So you can reach out to me wherever. But I just want to pause now and like take any questions that are there. Thank you so much for the opportunity so far. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm open for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. It's very impressive. So I have a quick question here. So when you set up the rules, the new users onboarding the community, would they automatically sign on the Discord server in the backend?
I didn't get the question quite. Could you just clarify, like, if the new users, what in Discord?
Sure. So it seems after the onboarding process, right? So the new user gonna assign a role.
Yes,
after the
yes.
process, we can see the new role tag on the Discord server for the new member.
Yes, yes, because we have assigned a bot, and that is the exact reason we deploy the bot, so that we can assign these roles. So everything around CAPTCHA verification, click on this emoji, because see, no one really clicks on just one emoji. When you go in and say click on the emoji to unlock the relevant roles, I have seen everyone click on 3 emojis. Hey, here's a banana, here's a jumping monkey. And that just unlocks a bunch of channels on the left end. That is where the chaos begins. So that's what we are actively working on, and the role gets automatically assigned. So for this designer who walked into the server, they not only have the context now, they're also seeing only the relevant channels they should be a part of. And of course, they can like come back and like go through the flow again to get another role assigned. But like the whole idea is like get them in the first time and like give them the right context.
And also, I really like the feature that you can show who you pull out the list for the new members, which is Discord doesn't provide this feature at all. So we, in order to access those lists, we have to log into your platform, right, to see where.
Yeah. Any admin who you just saw the deployment flow. So it just sits, the dashboard just sits with the access to anyone who is an admin and can have, they can just go in and look at that dashboard. You need to be an admin to be able to deploy this flow. So even if someone else randomly gets the link of whatever a self-serve flow is, they will never be able to change anything. But yeah, that's pretty much, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to ask any questions whatsoever? I see some messages in the chat and I'm gonna try and catch up. Okay, request everyone to please keep themselves dim sum. What's a partnership looking like? I think Amit is already taking care of that question in the chat. Anyone else has any questions? Thank you.
Vikram, you mentioned earlier there are some other integrations like Notion and other like DAOs across the DAO stack. Like what do they look like, by the way?
Yeah, so it really depends on a custom to custom basis based on what the DAOs are working with. But as far as Notion goes, as far as Airtable goes, as far as things like MetaMask go, now we are actively working, like we had a massive launch with 2 DAOs in like Near protocol and Solana. So we are working actively on wallet integrations for everything around Solana and Near. Near was fairly simple, but again, Solana uses its own world of realm and so on. So there's a lot of progress happening on that end. Now on the payout feature, for example, we are starting with Gnosis on Ethereum, but essentially the idea is that we start expanding to all the other chains. And honestly, it's like the way these things get prioritized in our head right now is based on who we are working with. So if we have like gotten a grant and we were just actually 2 hours back on talk, like because it's not public, or like it's not solidified yet, but we were in a talk with a DAO that's like considering a grant of like 100,000 to just promote the users on their own community, and we are actively engaging in those. So in that case, there are even custom integrations that we can look into. But otherwise as well, in terms of pricing, like integrations are not really an issue. We can deploy any integration, whatever we want to. The tool has been designed to be chain agnostic. Right, like so we can expand across the chain. It just depends on who we are talking to and what sort of a relationship we have before we expand it. Like like build the custom efforts around integrating it, the tool that you need.
Got it. Thank you.
I hope the demo was not like very fast paced, because I was just trying my best to cover as many pointers as I could in a simple way. If there are any more questions, now would be a great time to ask.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to officially thank you and wrap it up for the stream. And yeah, if folks have any questions, go right ahead. Really appreciate you coming out here. Really exciting tool.
Awesome. And like you have Amit, you have me, you can just reach out to any of us if you need any more clarity. At this point in time, like we are also struggling with prioritizing so many inbound requests, honestly, specifically for the contribution bit. The response has been overwhelming. Like, of course, it is the need because we have ourselves contributed into DAOs, and everyone is trying to like move in different directions. But every meeting we walk into, we've been hearing great things, and it's like highly encouraging. So thank you for all the like kind words and all the messages in the chat. It was lovely talking about whatever we are building here.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And yeah, great demo.